Having a smartphone with you at all times makes life a lot easier. It also makes traveling simple. But the problem is now there are apps for everything and it's hard to choose the ones that can really help you. In this video I will show you the 7 best travel apps you shouldn't travel without, which all are for free. The last one is my personal favorite. I've been using it for many years now and it has saved my life many times. Traveling to new places, especially when it's a big city, can be challenging. In addition to that, it can get really pricey to constantly use taxis and you can easily get scammed. That's why there are some apps that come in handy when it comes to getting around bigger cities. It's not one specific app, but there are few that allow you to use the taxi-like transportation services like Uber or Bolt. Using those is usually much cheaper than regular taxis and also allows you to control where you are taken and what you will pay for the ride. Make sure to check beforehand which of the companies has their services in the place you're going to, as there are many of those all around the world. Another app that is useful for transportation is the airline app. Maybe it doesn't necessarily make sense to download a new app for every airline you're traveling with. However, if you're traveling frequently with a specific one, make sure to get their app. I travel a lot with Ryanair and having all the info on the phone makes life much easier. You can make the check-in, have the boarding card easily accessible and have all the flight details and updates available. It's just one of those things you don't necessarily need but can make your travel so much simpler. The next app I use all the time while traveling is Google Maps. And I know it's quite obvious, but let me explain all the functionalities and features you might not be aware of. Apart from the most common ones like navigating or finding places on a map, for me it's super useful for finding places to eat. I do use it also for that purpose, not only when traveling, but it's especially handy when you're in places you don't really know, so you don't fall into tourist traps or don't spend a lot on not so good food. Most ratings are pretty accurate and I've seen many places, especially very popular destinations, where in the main tourist areas the ratings were totally shit and I could just have a look into Google Maps and find an awesome restaurant just a few blocks away. Another really useful feature is the offline map download. I never buy internet in a foreign country and I use only Wi-Fi when I need it. So it makes sense to have an offline map as well. Google Maps allows you to select any area and download an offline version of it. If you prepare it before your travel, it can really make it easier to get around when you're in a foreign place. Going to the next app. This one is the one I use probably on every travel, both before, during its planning, but also when already abroad. It turned out to be especially valuable for myself and for those that don't like to plan out every single date of their trip, but prefer to have a rough plan of what they want to do or see. That's why it happens quite often that I don't book the accommodation for every single night before leaving for the travel. I just do it when I'm already there, when I check what I want to do next and where I want to go. And that's when the apps with accommodation booking make a huge difference. I personally use booking.com as I find it the best one of all the other similar apps. But also, since I've been using it for a while already, I'm getting great deals for the number of bookings that I've already made. Having an app like that in your pocket makes the booking process a lot easier and allows to search for the perfect place with a price that works for you very quickly, and you can just plan the coming days on the go. Now, if you're watching this video, I assume that you speak English. That puts you already in a great position for international travel, as all around the world it's known to be the language to communicate with foreigners. However, although this might be obvious to you, it can be a huge challenge to understand each other in some countries. There are some even quite popular where English isn't used very often and it might get tricky to communicate with the locals. And I'm not even mentioning the countries where different alphabets than Latin is in use. And although back in the day a travel to China, for example, for someone outside of Asia was hard to imagine, now we're living in the 21st century and the language is no longer a real barrier. But we need some help with that. There are dozens of apps to translate, but the most obvious and popular one is Google Translate. It's not an old school translator anymore where you need to type in every single word and then try to build a sentence out of it. You can just talk and the app will simultaneously translate it into any language, and you can just then play the translation. You can capture text also with your camera and it also gets translated. It can be a lifesaver, and it's so amazing for travelers these days to be equipped with tools like that. Now, the money. Before we get to the app, I would like to recommend to you a short disclaimer. There are some e-banking apps that make traveling much easier and cheaper and give better exchange rates than traditional banks. But since this is about our money and there is some controversy about some of those apps, I don't want to recommend anything specific or guide you into that direction. Just wanted to make you aware that there are some companies making international payments easier, but if you want to dig deeper into it, please make your own research and decide whether this is something for you. What I can recommend with all my heart though is Timecodes. And as with every single one of the apps I've been mentioning today, there are lots of others having similar functionalities. But it happened that I'm using Timecodes. I love it and it checks all the boxes for me. This app allows you to track expenses and share them with your co-travelers. It has always been a pain in the ass noting down every freaking penny spent on some stuff when traveling with friends, and then paying back or splitting the bills, and just a lot of trouble. With Timecodes, you just need to put the spending into the app and mark who's with you and who was paying. That way you're gonna have a track of all spending split between all the travelers, and you will have an overview who should pay next. It makes traveling with other people so much easier. The last one is by far my favorite one. It has surprised me so many times in the most remote places I've been to and saved my life. But before we get to it, I just wanted to check if this video has helped you and is something you would like to see more of. If that is the case, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like under this video. And the app I was mentioning is Maps.me. And I know everyone has Google Maps now or Apple Maps or whatever, but it's not the same. Maps.me is an open source application, which means that it allows the users to update it themselves, something similar to Wikipedia. It is free, there are no ads, it's just so easy and fun to use. Bear in mind though that it's mostly used, by me at least, for walking. The calculation of the duration and the choice of roads when going by car is not perfect. But if you're trekking, because it is being updated by users, there are trails there you wouldn't imagine. There are even unmarked trails far in the mountains. There are trails that I've been using in the Peruvian Andes, in the Indian Himalayas, and so many other places, and it's usually super accurate. So whenever I'm hiking, trekking, walking or whatever, this is my go-to app. And it works offline. You just need to download the region you're going to beforehand, and then you don't need an internet connection to use the app. And taking a map with you, which is on your smartphone, saves you a lot of space in your luggage, because you don't have to take those heavy and bulky paper maps and guidebooks anymore. But there's so much more that pro travelers are not taking with them anymore. To learn what you can leave behind for your next travel, make sure to check out this video. Cheers, safe travels and do zobaczenia!